We've got a full schedule here planned, but we can take a deep breath for just a minute. I would like for you all to consider using the chat thread if it doesn't turn up too much noise for you. But the chat thread is a great place to start your connections and to say some things out loud about how this slide presentation is affecting you. As in, yes, that makes sense to me. No, that doesn't. So I'd love for you as you go through this process to put some comments in the chat thread. If it's something resonates with you, we will ask occasionally for things as well. And we would love for your comments and your observations as you're going through this. So right now, before we get started, we would love to hear how you're feeling right now in this moment. Patricia and I are considering part of the process of reframing relapse as being able to sit in the moment and figure out where you are right now. So could you
check your body, go to your body. What is a feeling? No bad answers. What are you feeling in this moment? No bad answers. No wrong answers. Hopeful, calm, warm. Would love everybody to put something in there in the chat. Wanda's always curious. Thank you, Wanda. I can't rely on myself to hold my abstinence commitment. Thanks, Cecily. Interested, tired, peaceful, sadness, loving, curious, lovingly curious, thrilled and excited, definitely curious, open. Yeah, how could relapse be a good thing? How is that possible? It's bad. It's wrong. Let out during meal times with friends. Left out during mealtime with friends.
a big one for me. That was a big one. Hi, Donna. Let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. That was called a vegetable soup moment, by the way. That's what Patricia and I to call taking a moment. I'd like for you to just think about what just happened for you. You stopped everything that was going on for just a minute to figure out what's happening for you inside. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get into presenter view. Can everyone see this?
Yep.
Okie dokie. Reframing relapse, why your failures are actually recovery in disguise. I want to remind you that this is the first of 3 masterclasses that we're going to be offering for the next 2 Saturdays after this one. Opening Pandora's Box will be next week, and post-traumatic growth will be after that. Patricia Reichgott O'Connor is someone that I have, I don't know, been attracted to for a decade almost. I started in a similar program to hers a long time ago. We've met multiple times in person, and we've always felt this deep connection. And I find us very much a yin and yang kind of ability to address all of the things. She has over 30 years of experience in recovery, and particularly food recovery.
30 years experience. Yeah, in food recovery. Yeah. Okay. But the last 10 years.
The last 10 years have been with specifically, and do you want to talk about yourself, Patricia?
Really, I'm a life coach. I'm a certified life coach. I think that's important. I do coaching for Everett Considine's IFS programs. And I combine, people think of me as very practical, straightforward, and have a big 12-step background in addition to a lot of other things that I have, because I've been on the path for 30 years for sure. And yeah, so I would say, like, what I think makes Sonya and myself good together, I really am concentrating on the side of connecting to your authentic self, your center. And Sonya is really big in why looking at things from a scientific point of view can connect you. So between the two of us, we hit the body, mind, and spirit.
I come from a really long background of weight issues. As I mentioned before, we started, I have a long history starting in the womb. I'm certain of it, which changes from the idea of a typical addiction starts in their teenage years with something like drugs or alcohol. Food starts when you're born. And that's the difference in how it impacts our brains. I have found it amazing to look into and see different things that happen to us and why they happen to us and why we do the things that we do. And the more that I understand about the neuroscience of it, the psychology of it, the spirituality of it, if you will, is it allows us to create this space that can really open things up. Because frankly, I know how to lose weight and I definitely know how to gain it, but I didn't know how to stay in this peaceful place with all the things that happen to us in life. So we've already done our vegetable soup moment. So I want to welcome you and promise, welcome to a radically different approach to food recovery. Today, you'll discover why your failures aren't failures at all. They're your recovery in disguise. We're going to transform how you understand and respond to those slips. And instead of making them trips down into the bottom of the Grand Canyon, there'll be a slip that you can learn from and discover more about yourself. As my cup here is gold flecked throughout, we're stronger at our slips. So discover why setbacks contain valuable wisdom and a sustainable approach to recovery.
They're necessaries for strengthening ourselves, looking deeper. Okay.
So the recovery dilemma, traditional approaches create cycles of determination and disappointment. That's what I know you guys are just flashing on times where you felt determined. Monday, I'm going to get started. I've cleared out my pantry. I'm ready to go. I've got all the things. I've made all the things. I'm ready to go. And then at some point, it may be that afternoon. It may be the next week. It may be a year from now. You have such disappointment. But that black and white thinking, the binary thinking, misses the natural learning process that we go through. Failure is not the opposite of success. Research shows trying harder often strengthens our urges. Think about that. Trying harder strengthens our urges. And we'll explain a little bit more about that in a minute. But we need a completely different approach.
Yeah. What if nothing's wrong? What if we are presented with something that feels like it's stopping us, but really it's having us go forward and looking at things in a different way because the way we were looking at it may be not working anymore. We need to just look at it in another way.
Before we dive in, let's understand the real villain in your food story. And yes, it is in your head, but it's our interpretation that's the issue. The inner critic is our brain's default mode. The default mode network is an aspect of scientific understanding of what's actually going on in our brains. But the voice in your head that never stops talking, we know what that is. We try to sit down in meditation, we try to relax and just focus on our breathing. And then some chatter comes in and more chatter comes in. The default mode network is designed to keep you focused and keep you aware and to keep you noticing crises, noticing and aware of anything that might be happening around you that you need to make account of. And it's most active when you're not focused on tasks. It's the reason that scrolling through reels on Facebook can be so relaxing, if you will, in the moment. It's the reason the video games are so popular with children and with teenagers and with probably, frankly, some of you, because you're shutting off your default mode network. You're shutting off that inner critic. It creates endless stories about who you are. Our brains are storytellers, and they're trying to connect disparate dots. The default mode network is designed to try to understand what's happening in the moment and to try to create a story that makes sense. The interesting part is it's a story, and in overdrive, it's your harshest inner critic.
And it looks like the truth because we have evidence, and so we keep replaying it over and over again from what we have been through in the past. And we're working here on how to shift that.
This is a really fun way to look at what's going on in your brain that is based on neuroscience. James Doty has written 2 books around magic and neuroscience. He's a neurosurgeon, and he's also lived his life understanding magic. They're fascinating books. I would highly recommend them. But he talks specifically about 2 modes of your brain, the fear mode and the heart mode. So the fear mode is the lacerating inner critic. I know you've heard yourself. I know you've told yourself this before. You've heard this. You're disgusting. You always fail. And those are in your voice. So they make sense. Or sometimes they're in your worst critic's voice, like maybe your mom or your dad or your grandpa. There's an endless replay of past mistakes. I just get exhausted thinking about how many have this issue. I'd love to have you post it in the chat thread if you understand this voice.
Yeah,
Cat-
what's a persistent complaint you're saying to yourself about yourself? I never get this right. Those kind of comments that we make.
I hear things, and this doesn't have to be about food. I just want you to hear Patricia and I recognize that food is the main reason that you're here because of relapses. But I want you to hear that we do actually focus on what is the underlying reason that we're going to food. And that's where we're going with this. We can talk all day long about finding the best program, the best plan. We all know the best way to eat. I guarantee you, every single one of you understands the best way to eat. So the catastrophic predictions about the future, catastrophizing, and spiraling into shame stories. Shame buries us in isolation and guilt and disgust. And it's literally smothering us and causing us to need to go to food. It's the most ridiculous, vicious cycle. Other people get it. I can't. Yep. So the concept is the fear mode or the heart mode, they're both in our heads. The compassionate presence, we have that, and it's usually reserved for other people. So there's present moment awareness, that's part of the heart mode. There's thoughts observed, but not believed. You don't believe everything you read. You might be listening to a story and wondering how it's going to end, and you might be listening to a mystery and wondering what the answer is, but you don't believe every word that comes out of that book. But for some reason, until now, we believe all our thoughts.
We're not noticing. Look what I just said to myself. Look at what the line I just used on myself.
One of the biggest ones for me is that I'm too much. I'm sure you don't understand why I would think that, but I have had that in my default mode network for a very long time, and it has squashed me down a lot. But if you can think about the space between the trigger and the response, there is a space, and that's part of the heart mode. The kind inner voice, this is hard. This is hard. This stuff is hard, but I'm learning.
Cindy says, is shame different than constantly being disappointed in myself? Constantly being disappointed in myself is what we're talking about. I'm constantly disappointed in myself. That's exactly what we're talking about here as the shame, the inner critic.
Absolutely. And the interesting part is, if you were to break that down, Cindy, you would probably recognize that there are many moments every day that you're not disappointed in yourself. But the ones that we highlight are important for sustaining our lives. The default mode network has no emotion. It's designed to keep us alive. So it's going to point out anything that feels detrimental to our living. The fear mode, your cruel inner critic, drives the very behaviors you're trying to change. Think about that. The heart mode creates the safety needed for real transformation. That voice telling you you're a failure, that's your default mode network in fear mode. We're not vilifying the default mode network. It's a part of keeping us alive. It's a part of finding interesting and fun things to do in the world. Default mode network is a great space, and it's a great tool within our brains to help us. But when it's in fear mode, it becomes the lacerating inner critic.
And we have another gear. We have the heart gear. Go to our heart and see what we say. So we have the fear mode, and that's the one that feels, that's the one we've had most practice in. unfortunately. We have practiced that. So we're talking about learning how to practice another gear, shifting it into another gear.
And that gear, understanding the two selves. Where is that gear? Do we have that gear? Oh, there's another way for your brain to operate. Sorry, guys. I just want to make sure I'm following my own slide deck. Understanding your two selves. I don't know if you have ever measured your day by a 0 or a 1, but if you have, that's binary thinking. It's a pass fail, it's a right or wrong, it's a good or bad. I'm never going to grade my children on a pass fail. I look at the totality of them. The binary recovery trap is that if we go off our plan, even a nano ounce, we've failed. And it creates a psychological rigidity around food, an either or, a yes or no, a good or bad. And it also sets up impossible standards. Recovery from food dysfunction is not the same as recovery from alcohol or drugs. I don't know if I've ever binged on broccoli to the success of gaining my weight back. But I do want to say that food is, for some of us, we're very clear about what is healthy for us and what is not healthy. But there's also that fine line of deciding how much of something that is healthy. We need to start changing the way that we look at our perception of what we're doing. We need to release the rigidity, release the perfectionistic approach. And we're going to explain a little bit more about how that feels. Marcia says, I want to do better for me and my kids. Cecily says, oh, so good to hear this out loud. Susie,
Mode, great examples of heart mode when we're saying that, oh, I want to do better for myself and my kids. Oh, it's so good to hear this. How does that feel in your body?
yeah, I totally relate to the binary recovery trap, all or nothing. We are taught from birth to be perfect. Our mothers obsess over it sometimes. Our grandmothers obsess over it. Our dads, they want us to be perfect so that we can go out and be safe. They might be scared that we're going to fall into some trap or fall into somebody's arms. The Fear Modes playbook, the inner critic's greatest hits. Perfectionism, one mistake equals total failure. Down below, if you look at these next to one another, perfectionism, one mistake equals total failure. In the compassionate observer, curiosity says, what's really happening here? So instead of saying one mistake is total failure, ask the question, what's really happening here? If you're sitting in comparison mode, God bless us, we're always comparing. So and so is doing so well on their programs, has lost X amount of pounds. So and so looks great. So and so wears a size 2. Comparison. Everyone else is normal except me. Oh, that normal word. God bless us. Common humanity. Everyone struggles. Do you believe that everyone struggles? It's hard when we're looking at someone's Facebook page. That's only going to show perfection anyway. Yep. But if we don't weigh, that takes over as well. Yes. Yes.
But also saying, when I'm in my shame mode, if I can say, everyone struggles, it's a step up into a more positive reframing of it.
Mhm.
Struggles. I'm just like everyone. I struggle and I can move forward from here. There's something I get a chance to learn. We start shifting into another way of talking to ourselves. And for me, until I noticed that I was trying to correct everything that was wrong with me, so that, of course, I was saying things, oh, this is not right. I don't do this right. I never get this right. And I felt like I was working to be better. I didn't realize I was actually sabotaging myself by saying these things to myself. And I had to learn how to notice it. Oh, look what I just said, and reframe it in a way. Even lightly reframing is not a light reframe. It's everything. Like every, I'm just like, I go through these struggles. I will get through this. I will move on. I have in the past and I will again.
I am my eating patterns, or I'm more than my patterns. The self-criticism paradox. Research specifically says that self-compassion leads to better outcomes. And yet I still hear my grandfather saying, but you have to work harder. If you let go of the steering wheel for just a moment, you're going to crash. I think one of the hardest things that I did for myself was shift the difference between being abjectly terrified of gaining my weight back after I'd found something that not only worked, but felt healthy, with healthy respect for those substances that no longer served me. When you release that self-compassion, actually lowers the volume on everything and lowers the need for you to soothe yourself. Just think about that logic. Harshness triggers a threat response. When you're constantly beating yourself up, it triggers a threat response that creates the shame, binge, shame cycles. And define binge however you want.
Yeah, that's very broad with perfectionism. Binge is a very broad term with perfectionism. You could have had a lick and you could have convinced yourself you're off and then you're off at the races.
Notice how the fear mode creates the very problems it claims to solve. The harsher you are on yourself, the more you need food for comfort.
It's our go-to. It's what we went to all our lives, for many of us, in order to not feel.
Just think about the difference between being crazy about something and being so hyper focused on getting this thing, the hypervigilance, versus being able to sit quietly and calmly. Which one is going to help you make a smarter choice? The next move, which one is going to help you make a more thought out next step? There's a whole lot. This is my favorite topic for sure. The neuroscience of why this thing happens and what we can do about it. One of the main reasons that we have amygdala hijack, which is a part of our brain that grabs a hold whenever there's threat detection, whenever there's something that is triggering them. And it could be a phone call from somebody you haven't talked to in a while. It could be going through pictures. Oh my God, going through a box of pictures is going to send your amygdala into overdrive. Thinking about what happens when the amygdala grabs hold. The amygdala is a part of the brain that is a part of the limbic system, which is the lizard brain or the caveman section of our brain. When we became sentient, the prefrontal cortex was just plopped on top, frankly. That's how I like to think about it. The prefrontal cortex is the thing that determines the body scan. Am I really needing to eat right now? Why am I thinking about this? The ability to talk about the process, to walk through the process, comes from your prefrontal cortex. Guess what's in there as well? Your emergency action plan. So if your prefrontal cortex is offline, you don't have access to the project manager within you that says, oh, wow, I wonder what's going on here. Or the emergency action plan that you had set up for yourself. That's why we watch ourselves walk to the pantry or the freezer. So when the prefrontal cortex is offline and the amygdala is hijacked, that's fear mode. There's no access to your wisdom. And the shame stories on repeat keep spiraling. And our stress hormones go into overdrive. There's a reason that you have extra weight around your middle. That's cortisol and adrenaline-driven fat cells. Body prepared for danger, packing it on just in case. When your brain is in heart mode, the ventral vagal system is activated. That's our safety system. You've heard about the vagus nerve. You've heard about what the vagus nerve does. It's a major system that identifies threat and sends that word back up to our brains. But when we can recognize also that we are safe right now, I'm curious, if you feel safe right now, do you feel safe right now? You may feel activated right now at this whole concept. I'm curious, do you feel safe? Can you look around your surroundings and ask, do you feel safe in your environment right now? Can you take a deep breath and ask again? Because this is a lot. We're asking you to take in a lot of information you may have heard before, you may not have. Once you can take a deep breath, and calm yourself, your wisdom is accessible. In other words, your prefrontal cortex is back online, and your body is calmed, and your heart rate is lowered, and your heart rate variability is expanded because your brain understands and is calmer.
Thanks, Darrell. And if one doesn't feel safe, nothing's wrong. It's just notice, oh, I'm not feeling safe right now. Let me take some breaths. Let me take a few breaths here. It's about looking at what's going on for us as it's going on. What if nothing's wrong? Maybe I'm being led to something. How can I look at this in a way that can bring me back online? How can my heart, if I talk to my heart in this moment, what would it say to me? And then listen to what it might say to you.
The oxytocin flowing, self-soothing, the calming that you can do for yourself. It starts with just breathing. Cecily says, I'm loving this, but I feel some anxiety. Breath helps. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a moment of pausing. That breath, it brings us immediately into the present, not all the things we've been afraid of in the past in our lives. That breath is a moment of pause, and it connects us to our center.
There's a phrase called the window of welcome. I really love it. There's another word, and I can't think of it now, that is typical in psychology. But Sarah Payton uses the phrase window of welcome. What it basically is, how much can I handle? So I want you to hear that every single one of you has been working on this food thing for a very long time. And when you hear these things, frankly, it's so much common sense, it's hard not to hear it, but it can be very anxiety ridden. How am I supposed to change everything that I'm doing? Wait a minute. I'm in this balance right now, or in this pseudo balance right now, and I'm worried about it. If you can say to yourself, I can be with this, which is what the heart mode allows for, or I'm willing to be with this. I'm willing to be willing, using Patricia's words. Stress narrows our tolerance. It closes and makes this window opaque. What this represents is that window there. You can see the color on the top bottom left corner. That's all the emotion that this person is capable of allowing in at any time. The point of abstinence is that it opens up and requires that we use something else. It requires that we use something else as a coping mechanism. What we are working on here, what Patricia and I have been helping people with for the last 2 years, is opening up the possibilities. What are other things and other ways for you to cope? And one of those is that you're in with a group of, I don't know how many people are here right now. I have no idea. I can't look. But what I want you to hear is that every single one of you here is connected. And that can help. There's an oxytocin and a serotonin that you feel when you have a connection to other people. Compassion widens our capacity. And when others can be compassionate with us, that window becomes a beautiful color palette. It's really important to recognize that you can't think your way out of fear mode. One of the major things, Patricia and I talk about the 4 pillars of recovery. Noticing.
You have to notice it. You have to, oh, look what I just said.
You have to notice it. Resonance is a concept that some of you may have not heard about before, but wait, resonance is accompanying people. Alarmed aloneness, feeling this feeling that I am the only one. Nobody around me understands this, or you're in a group of people and you feel so alone in that moment. When you can be accompanied, it calms us automatically. So you can't think your way out of fear mode, but you can be accompanied out of fear mode. And you can breathe your way into heart mode. And body-based practices like yoga or singing or humming or laughter, or this process that we are going to walk you through today. Hopefully we've got time for it. We're going to walk you through. The acceptance paradoxically enables change. This is the hard part. And I'd just love for you to just think about this in a way that will allow you to look at this from a different perspective. Fear mode literally shuts down the parts of your brain that could help you make different choices. And heart mode reopens those pathways. Tommy says, I'm overwhelmed with sadness at my mother's struggle with food and beating herself up. I just begged her yesterday to let it go. I don't know who NP is, sorry.
Neural pathway? I don't know.
Maybe you meant HP. Oh, nurse practitioner. Ah, practical. To help her let it go. Torture. Yeah, I can't do it for her. I wish I could. I know, I totally get it.
We torture ourselves with what we're saying to ourselves if we're not aware. That's not fixing us. That's driving us to the very thing we're trying to let go of.
The hidden wisdom in our struggles. Two interpretations of the same behavior. My binges prove I'm weak from the fear mode, or my binges are meeting real needs. My binges are meeting real needs. They are. And I'll tell you, it's scary to open that door. We're going to be talking about Pandora's box next week and ways to feel less scared. There's so many different ways to do something in this world. There are some really hard ways, and there are some not so hard ways. To say to yourself, I eat because I have no control versus I eat to cope with overwhelm. Can both be true? Can they just be a shift in perspective? But when you say I eat because I have no control, do you think that would you ever say that to some other friend of yours? Tommy would never say that to her mother. But to say I eat to cope with overwhelm, yes, that shows, could you say that shows I'm weak, I have weakness? Or that shows that I'm human? We're not broken, we're human. And instead of what's wrong with me, ask, what is this behavior trying to do for me? The shifts, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, but in order to get to where we can say, what's this trying to do for me? We first have to notice, just look what I just said. Take a breath. And why am I saying this? Not why do I keep doing this, but what's going on here? What's this old familiar thing happening? So we go to our heart and ask for input, not the mind input that we're beating ourselves up with over and over again. I know we're doing that just because we're trying to improve, but we have to first see that's not helping us improve. That's bringing us further down. And further down, we go to our usual go-tos, which is numbness.
Oh, and we've been doing it for so long. How many have memories? One of your first memories is overeating or hiding in a closet or grabbing, stealing food from the kitchen. How many have that as one of your first memories? Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And it's a practice. It's a practice. We're really learning on how to practice this thing that we're talking about here, which is a practice again and again. Practice, practice. We get angry because we want it done. And that's not how it works. That's also part of the shame voices that we have. We're just continuing to practice and getting better by practice.
I'm really curious. We've got a lot of responses in the chat thread to people, what they have done in the past or what they remember, what some of their earliest memories. I just remember being teased in kindergarten because I thought I had the cutest dress on. It was so cute and it was flowy and I could twirl in it and I loved it so much and I got called a whale. Oh, it hurts my heart to think about that. But think about what that kind of experience does. First of all, it sits in your amygdala and it creates this horrible trigger so that every time you feel like you might be called a whale, you get so conscious about what you're wearing, you get so overdone about it, you end up not going anywhere. You end up isolating. You end up protecting yourself from being called that again. I was so shocked by that. I was like, what? Wait, what? This
Yeah.
is an interesting slide. Patricia and I have studied a lot of different wise people. And frankly, there's not a whole lot around food dysfunction or food addiction in particular. There's a lot of people who don't believe that you can become addicted from food. And you may not believe that as well. That's fine. But we all understand the dysfunction associated with overeating and how it can be so destructive. And one of the people that we've studied with a lot is Gabor Mate. And he comes at it he works with drug addicts for the most part, but he has understood that addiction can be all sorts of things. But what we have done is brilliant. I need you to hear this. You developed a coping mechanism that worked. It got you through. It provided comfort during stress. It stimulated you when you were bored or tired or lonely. This is a big one. It distracted you from difficult emotions. Most of us are 5-year-olds when it comes to emotions because we don't really know how to handle certain emotions, especially big ones. And food numbs it.
Teresa says, I beat myself up thinking that if the beating is big enough, I'll finally get on track. And that's the actual opposite. But we do it for good reason. We're beating ourselves up, not because we're trying to beat ourselves up. We're trying to get it right. And it actually drives us to our go-tos, which in many of our cases is food, to release our minds from that stress. So congratulations, getting that, starting to see that, starting to see that.
You can absolutely stop it. You have capacity. There is so much science that says even into our hundreds, we can adjust our brain patterns. Our brains are neuroplastic. And I've always thought that was a weird term for something that was fluid, because for me, plastic is like Legos. It's not plastic. It's not movable, but neuroplasticity means you can change your patterns as teachers. This is the crux of this, guys. Every single time you eat outside of where you eat something because of some other reason, you want to get down into it. It's giving you information. Your triggers reveal your needs, even if you don't eat. If you have a craving or a distraction or something, it's an opportunity. It's a beautiful gift to look at it. Our failures show us where we need support.
Yes. Look at that as a reframe. Our failures show us where we need support.
Patterns point to unmet needs. Something's going on that requires looking deeper and coming up. Once you resolve that, frankly, almost everything is amygdala trigger, and it takes your prefrontal cortex offline. So you're not thinking, you're just doing. You might as well be a robot. And you can watch yourself doing all these things, especially Patricia and I were talking about this yesterday. When you are abstinent, even for a moment, even for a week, a month, a year, you understand and look at food differently. You recognize what you're doing. You just can't figure out why you can't stop yourself or why you can't get yourself back on track. But they're teachers. You need to go underneath and deeper. And that in itself can be scary. It can be very scary. What if your food struggles aren't evidence of your weakness, but of your creativity in trying to meet real needs? This is what Gabor Mate says. Addicts are brilliant. You have figured out a tool that worked, that got you to this place. I'm 66. I've figured this out and I got here in spite of my story. Wow. There were multiple times when I might not have figured this out well enough to survive, but I was able to use food until I got to a place where I could empower myself and have agency and change. And there are all sorts of we want to make this change. But every slip is actually trying to teach you something.
It can. It has the potential. We can go deeper into hating ourselves, or we can open up into the practice of learning to look at this in a new way. And that's a practice. And sometimes you're going to get it and think, I've got it now. And then something will happen that will re-trigger, and we have to practice it again and practice it again.
Yeah, when Maria says like plastic tubing, I'm assuming I'm thinking of like those, what are those floaties in the pool? They're malleable, or like a neuroplasticity is like maybe a balloon animal.
Noodles.
Noodles. Thank you, Marsha. Neuroplasticity is like a balloon animal.
Yeah.
And you can decide what you want to turn it into, and you can reshape it.
I find that as a coach, what I noticed early on was people thinking, as soon as I get to a certain weight, I'll be done. That is very far from the truth, even if you get to a certain weight, because there's stuff coming up that's really asking to be looked at. And we need to have safety in order to do that. We need to feel safe in order to have that done, to be able to have a place where we can practice this.
We talked about noticing, and we mentioned resonance, and we talked about trusted connection and community. Really important. Those three are really important, but nothing changes without practice. Those are the four cornerstones that Patricia and I work with on a regular basis to help you, both spiritually and neuroplasticity-ish. I know that's a term. I'm certain of it. If not, I just invented it. We are here.
I like the ish at the
I
end.
know. I agree. I agree. We are here to supply you with now some actual practical things that you can use. So I need you to hear that what we have listened to and what you have paid attention to, and I really appreciate you all still being here and recognizing that this is a thing. And you may very well be in a place right now where you're like flashing on all of the times when you messed with yourself, when you screwed things up, when you didn't meet the goal you needed before wedding, when you looked awful in that picture. The third one is trusted community or trusted connection.
Have to have a place where you feel heard,
Mhm.
not lectured to, not people giving you advice. Did you try this or did you try that? When you're in the middle of something?
You need to find a place where you don't fit in, where you belong, where you walk in as yourself right now, where you are. And that can be really scary. And I just want you to hear you can start off camera and on mute. You can start by listening to a recording, if that even feels more comforting. But I want you to hear that trusted community is really important. And if you feel any kind of connection to either Patricia or I or both of us, that is a huge connection. That's a lifeline. You may not know anyone else on the screen, but you recognize the connection that will help you, a lifeline. When I first was in my mastermind group, a long time ago, we've been together for almost 8 years now, we would say one of us will always be in the raft to pull you in. And that means anything, guys. I'm sorry, food is a big deal. It is, but it's just the Band-Aid for what's underneath. And frankly, I find that what Patricia and I do together creates a situation. I'm not suggesting you don't need therapy. I think we all need therapy. But Patricia and I connect the dots between the food dysfunction and the healing. And that's a very important connection. There are a lot of therapists out there that don't understand or don't recognize this. And when you can be in trusted community, it makes a big deal. Do we want to do this thing now, Patricia?
Do we have enough time can we just review it?
Yeah,
And
let's
then
do
I know
it. And
that
what
the
we'll do,
course will actually,
yeah, what we'll do is review this. We do have a guided visualization for you. And what we'll do, Patricia, is you and I will record it, and then we'll put it out there for people as a gift to them for this class. But we can do that. Let me share my screen again so you understand what we're talking about here. So there are two different processes that are important when you're talking about food dysfunction. And this 90-second reset, is designed to be available to you at the moment that you recognize that you're going to the food. I know you understand that. You either have a craving or you literally are watching yourself walk to the food. So these 6 steps are helpful for a number of reasons. First of all, the first thing that noticing does is it pulls you out of your amygdala and back into your prefrontal cortex. You could even put these 6 steps on the place that you usually go, your refrigerator, your pantry. You could put this on the freezer. The first one is notice. There's my fear mode, Critic.
look what I just said to myself? What if I said that to a good friend about themselves?
Wow. Yeah, there it is. Hello. And breathe. There's something that people in Patricia and my community have been using for a very long time, and it's called straw breathing. And I just want to take a minute to show you what that is. It's inhale quickly and exhale slowly, like you're exhaling through a straw. You can inhale through your nose or your mouth, it doesn't matter. I want you to try that right now. What you've just done with one straw breathing is lower your blood pressure, more than likely. You've raised your heart rate variability and told your brain that everything's fine. Our heart rate goes into lock mode when we're tense, when we're stressed, when we're catastrophizing. And this allows, and when we're in this place, this allows your brain to take a beat and to recognize everything is fundamentally well. And I don't know, do you feel a softening? Can you feel a softening already just from that one breath? Think about doing 3 of them. Imagine what that'll do. Taking a minute to put your hand on your heart and saying a few kind words to yourself, sensing the ground underneath your feet and noticing your surroundings. Do you see what this is doing? This is allowing you to pause. This is the complete opposite of gripping the steering wheel and working harder and more frantically. This is just the opposite, but you're allowing yourself to use your whole brain.
And grounding you in presence, not, oh, this'll happen, that'll happen, this'll happen. It's presence.
You get to then ask the question, what do I truly need right now?
Ask your heart and listen. Get quiet and listen.
Another straw breath is always a good idea.
It's a practice. This
One
is a practice.
one of the things I do a lot is singing at the top of my lungs at the beginning of the morning. And if you think about singing a long sustained note, you have to take a deep breath in quickly, and then you exhale out slowly while you're singing that note. You're activating your vagus nerve, you're calming yourself, and you're increasing your heart rate variability. There are very scientific reasons why you are calmer, unless the neighbor's yelling at you for singing out loud at 4 a.m. But I don't get that. So there's an opportunity for you to do some of these things. You don't have to remember them all, but if you put these all on a sticky note somewhere, you could tattoo them to your forehead when you're looking in the mirror. You could also, you could also use these on a regular basis and put it in a lot of different places. Actually reading a sticky note pulls you out of your amygdala and allows you to think again. You have to use your prefrontal cortex in order to read the sticky note.
And you're connected to your heart when you do that. You're connected to your center when you move out of that prefrontal cortex and move into presence.
Absolutely. So I will send out the slide deck with the recording. You will all get this in your email. If you did not get an email notification for this class, it came out about an hour and a half before the class started. If you did not get an email notification, reach out to me. I want to make sure you're on the email list for this because we've got 2 more classes and there's going to be a recording coming out, and I'm going to ask you to share this widely, please. We are very interested in people hearing this message. The other thing that we've talked about ad nauseum through this is a relapse reframe. And Patricia and I have developed this particular protocol to help us in any situation at any time. You could go back to a time 15 years ago when you relapsed and walk through this process. You could go back to a week ago or 2 days ago or this morning
Or now.
or now, because you may very well be triggered today by all that we've covered. Okay? That's the sick and twisted thing about food dysfunction. When you are abstinent, you get to feel everything. And we're not used to that. So the 6 steps to transform any slip, or as I said, any potential slip, is to first acknowledge, wow, that happened.
Look what happened. Look what I just said. Oh, look what I'm thinking right now.
And breathe to shift your states. If you know anything about internal family systems, there are 8 C's. My 2 favorites are curiosity and creativity. Okay, I like them all. But if you inquire with curiosity, you are automatically in your authentic self. You're automatically pulled out from the outsized emotions that happen in everyday life, the stuff we can't control, SWCC, the craziness out there. You're automatically in a place that you can step back. That's what you're doing when you're in curiosity. And you can start to look. You're not going to get it all. I work with people who have been working for a long time on uncovering some of the things that have happened to them in their past and trying to put pieces together on why their amygdala keeps getting activated, why they keep getting triggered. And as we decode those underlying reasons we need to go to food, that's the work that turns the noise down. Patricia and I were talking this morning about how these things feel insurmountable, possibly to you. This feels like a lot. But think about how you feel after you've been on a food plan for a while, even a week. You may have only lost a couple of pounds or a pound or maybe nothing at all. But if you're eating healthy food, you're feeling better. So this is something that is going to shift for you immediately once you start working on it. It may be a tiny little baby step, but it is going to help you. And every time you use this process, just to think about it, wow, I wonder why I was so activated here. I wonder, and there are probably many reasons why we get activated. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, not shame. Here I go again. I always do this. It always gets a certain blah, blah, blah. But not shame, curiosity. Oh, something's coming up here. I don't know what it is, but something's coming up for me to look at.
And some more R's because I love alliteration. This is reflection rather than regret. I need you to hear that. Part of the problem we have is we spend our lives in regret. When I first lost this weight, I was like, what? I've got all this excess skin. Wait a minute. I was supposed to look like Christy Brinkley. I could regret all day long the things that I've done over these last 55, 57 years, or I could reflect on it and allow it to be my superpower, that I'm going to reframe the ways that my waterfalls and my angel wings and my Sharpay's eyebrows on my ass, and how much I appreciate the ability to be able to climb a mountain now that I couldn't do. I couldn't even climb my stairs. So we're rounding out the rest of this program for today. We want to share with you what's coming up next, and we do want to do a vegetable soup moment. But before we go, I'd like to say recovery happens in spirals. So think about that. It's not a straight line, but I'm telling you, once you know something like this, you can't unsee it. Okay, I know I mixed a metaphor there, but your inner critic creates the problem, and self-compassion is the solution.
And a lot of practice. A lot of practice. There's no getting there. There's getting through, awakening, going deeper, all those other good words, but not being done. Done is not one of the words.
Every slip contains wisdom when met with curiosity, and you're rewiring your brain with each practice. You want to read the quote, Patricia?
Your inner critic has been trying to protect you through harshness. Your compassionate self protects you through kindness. Only one of these actually work. Only one of these actually works. Choose.
Hmm?
And this is the kind of thing we go deeper and deeper with through the course that we are going to offer at the end of May for many weeks.
Because it takes practice. Let's take a minute now. How are you feeling in this moment?
Feel your body. What's a word? No bad answers, no wrong answers. What's a word? And we're going to go into the course right after this. But for now, we want to wrap it up with what you're feeling.
Says, I'm never disappointed when I come to these amazing classes that you both so generously provide for free. Thank you so much. I have to go pretty soon. We look forward to seeing you again, Teresa. Cecily says, hopeful. Marcia, I'm kvelling. I pronounced it, didn't I? No. Says lighter. Susie says hopeful.
Both
Tracy.
of you did. That said it. So I'm really
I have practice.
my impact. You have practice. I know.
I have practice.
Amazing.
I have it through his osmosis. Thank you. Tracy encouraged, Durrell energized, Cindy hopeful, Dawn hopeful, Cheryl inspired, learned so much, got a deeper understanding of everything. Awesome class. Thank you. Affirmed. Okay. I get goosebumps when I love vegetable soup moments. I just want you to hear. I love sitting in their moments. And honestly,
I just want to say this comes from we are all a big vegetable soup and all vegetables are welcome. Sorry.
If you are feeling confused or sad or pissed off, that's important to note. I just want you to hear that. But I do
notice.
That's right. Thanks, but thanks, Marcia. All right, so I just want to talk for a minute. Patricia and I have been working on this. This is actually, how many times have we offered this course? This is a fourth time, but it's always different. The first time was actually on completely different topics. And if you go to my website, I think it's on Patricia's too, but I don't know. We need to put it on there if it isn't.
Yes, we need to put it on there.
Yeah. It's called The Foundation, Art of Recovery. But this one, The Art of Recovery, Spring 2025, has these topics. These are the 12 modules that we'll be offering. So if you got something out of this, just imagine 12 more over 18, 19 weeks. I think it's over 19 weeks.
Yeah, deepening 19 weeks together as a community that gets to feel more and more trusted.
This is a visual that was put together by Verena Metzger. She's brilliant. And this gives you a different perspective. So the course is broken up into 3 phases. The practical path, where tools meet trust. It's really important to understand and get some good foundation on the practical aspects of this. And there are 4 modules for that. There are 2 coaching calls. And during this whole 19 weeks, you'll have access to the magic, where the magic happens, the community that is now coming up to its 5th year and has a really beautiful presence. And I can get you more information on what the magic covers. There will be, in over 6 weeks' time, you'll get 4 modules. So there will be basically 2 modules on and then 1 week off. And a lot of that is in part because of the summer, and also because we want you to take time to digest the material. If you miss a week and you can't get in, all of the recordings are available, and they're also available online. So you will have access to all of this. As you'll see, you'll be getting a recording of this by end of day. I do turn around things pretty quickly for us in this group, and I do that on purpose because I think it's important to be able to digest some of these things and go back if you need to. So this covers also 3 one-on-one coaching sessions between Patricia and I. You can choose one or both of us over the span of the 19 weeks. You get 20 minutes for each session.
3 altogether.
The second phase is called the curious heart. I like to call it the messy middle, where patterns meet possibility, where we open up things and explore different ways of being compassionate and curious. And then there's the awakening self, which is the 3rd phase, where wisdom meets expression. Looking at possibility. Who am I if I'm not in food? What am I doing with myself? Why am I here on this planet? Someone mentioned earlier about not feeling comfortable going out to eat. I had a boatload of friends that were all food centric. That was really challenging. So I'm not here to do some magic. This course is $3.99. You can split it up over payments. Registering online, you'll see the payment options out there if you choose to. But it's designed to be supportive over, I think we figured out it's 19 weeks. You'll get the schedule. You'll have access to the private coaching, very action-oriented and active learning from 2 people and our community that really gets the need to have practice, both science and spiritual support. Every call will be a guided visualization, access to the online course, and it's also going to be in the app. I have a new app, and I'll be opening that up to the general public soon. But if you have a course, you can already access it. It's called Transform My Path. It's only available to Apple right now. I have iPhones and iPads, but it will be available to Androids. I'm not being elitist, if you will. I do have all Apple products, but it's just Apple approves things faster than Google does.
I just want to say that it's so important to continue the conversation. Nobody, with our minds the way they are, or anyone's mind the way it is, hearing something, getting an idea, understanding that idea has to be, we have to be in the conversation over and over again. That's why AA is so successful, because we're continuing the conversation. First of all, you're in a different place 6 months from now than you were here, and you hear it different. You hear things anew, and just keeps us in the practice of it, because we've had a lot of practice going the other way, and it takes a lot of practice to continue awakening and deepening.
I'm putting the link to the registration in the chat thread. You can register there. If you've been in the class before, message me. There is a coupon for someone that has taken this class before. We do believe very strongly that many times, I don't know how much information you got today, but there are some things I've heard multiple times that didn't sink in until I heard them 3 or 4 times later. And it's really important information that is going to help you. And part of this is the practice. And part of this is the noticing. And part is the resonance. And part is the trusted community. And all of these things combined create that. So if you click on this link, that will take you to the registration page, I think, or it might take you to anyway, the registration is there. And like I said, if you've taken this course before, message me and I'll get you the coupon. Any questions? The class starts the 31st. I'd love to hear if anyone has taken this course before, what you think about it, whether or not you think it's worth taking again, because I know we've already had multiple people signing up already. What are your thoughts about this process that we go through that I feel is very unique?
I always have something to say, so.
What do you have to say, Tommy?
I have to say that the course I think could have been verbatim the same, even though it was extremely different from the first go round to the second. But it was the same concepts, but it was just a deepening. And I keep thinking that, oh, I've gotten to this new level. Oh, I'm so deep. And I don't think I can't go deeper, but I think, this is great. But then I uncover like another layer, peel back another layer of the onion. But talking about it and continuing to watch people who come in who are near there or wanting it, but maybe they don't have the words yet, or they don't have the concepts, or they just haven't heard it the right number of times, because I've heard things have landed differently for me that I've heard for years, and I'm like, like you just get it.
You read what Kelly said? Do you want to read it out loud for us, Tommy?
What is Kelly? You just do it. You won't regret it. I learn something new every class. It's so true. And that is a lot, because I have watched people who wouldn't even want to be on screen go to being on screen and go to speaking, because it is so safe, and it is, you feel the trust, and it's a sacred space. And we are all ships rise, Patricia likes to say. It's true. So the people who are just even on the fringe, they will get swept up with us all. So it isn't, I see people who look at things I do and go, it's easy and it's simple, but I've been practicing it now for 4 years or whatever. So you just got to stay in the conversation. It's so true. And thank you, Cheryl, for just saying ditto.
Thank you, Cheryl, for expressing that. And Cecily, I'm looking forward to this fresh perspective. I'm shifting away from a program that feels too punitive. Yeah.
A little bit more about this, Cecily? You don't need to blast another program. I know how you feel.
Just I think in the beginning, when you were talking about the sort of the binary thinking, the zeros and the ones, which actually specifically relates to this program that I'm part of. And when you're doing well, you feel very supported and very cheered on and like you have a community. But when you're not doing well and you're struggling and you are actually in the food and the food that nobody wants to name because, oh, but you didn't break your abstinence with that, did you? Yes, I did. Oh, no. Oh, I know, I'm terrible.
I
And
know
so what
that.
happens, it's just so hard. It just drives me further and further into the food and
Same,
further into shame and further
same.
into isolation. And then I can't come out again because I feel like, how do I even say it? How do I even
Well,
ask for help?
where are your comrades?
I know, where are my
Where are your
comrades?
help? Where is the safe place?
They're there when my abstinence is strong.
Yes, yes.
But
Uh,
yeah,
we just don't know any better. It's not, I don't think it's really a particular program's fault. It's
no,
just
I don't either.
we don't know how we don't know how to we haven't learned resonance. We haven't learned ourselves not to be punitive with ourselves. We haven't learned how to say to somebody, that's really great that you notice that. It's important that you notice that. Nothing's wrong that you notice that. Thanks for speaking up because it's
And
all
it can feel scary to people when they hear somebody who has had years of abstinence is struggling. They're like, uh-oh, I don't know if I want to be around you. I don't know. Is it contagious?
we live a full life. There's births, there's deaths, there's floods, there's fires. How can we not have to
Yeah.
deal
It's been
Yeah.
our
with this
forever.
every day?
Absolutely. It has been the thing we go to. Our brains are routed to do that until they're not. And every
Yeah.
that we make a conscious shift, every time we pause, that's why noticing is literal neuroscience. It feels like you're
Yeah.
not doing anything, but you're actually taking a pause that is huge. And
Yeah.
recognize that. You're seeing this. The other thing that is interesting about this concept of they're going to drag me down, that's an unconscious limiting belief.
Yeah.
Okay. They're going to drag me down. That is an unconscious limiting belief. I need to stay with people that are better than me, higher on the scale. That's the same kind of punitive approach that we take. We need to be able to recognize each one of us is on a unique journey. Each one of us has the capacity to make these beautiful shifts, and we can do that more easily in trusted community. We all know what it's like to consciously watch ourselves do something without any capability of stopping it. I have this great blog, just what is it, 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 now? I face planted, folks. It's one of the things that I talk about all the time in a metaphor, but I actually did it 3 weeks ago. It's a long story. It's funny in a way, and it has made such a beautiful gift for me. It released one part of the struggle. I always had trouble getting around in my car by myself. I would always want to consciously drive into a convenience store and buy a bag of crap. That was one thing. I would white knuckle it on my steering wheel sometimes. But this time I actually got out of my car and I walked to the store, and I'm certain I got tripped. I face planted, and since then it's been lovely. It's such a release. I'm
Oh, you don't mean you don't mean you face planted in the food. You mean you face planted.
face planted right here. Oh, I don't even know if you can see it.
Oh, I meant you
Well,
face planted in the food. I use that term. I face planted.
Oh, that's that term on my days too. No, I literally face planted. I thought I cracked a rib. I even went to get x-rays. No, I literally face planted. And it literally stopped me and it released this. I don't know. I believe in spirit guides. I'm certain my
That's hilarious.
stripped me and was like, dude, you're not listening. We want you to hear this. This is not for you.
That was a big pause.
and I want you to know too, I am continuing to learn. Working with people who have the, working with myself, working with people that issues come up, working with when it's like, how do I reach, how do I say this? What are the words I can do? Really sharpens my brain. I'm 81, if you don't, I talk about that. And it's so great to have a sharp-ish brain. And
Wonderful.
and and I'm continuing learning all the time, especially it's so great to be challenged. How do I say this? Or work with somebody who's upset about something, how do I be with them? I just have to it keeps my tools sharpened, but it sharpens them more.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's wonderful. Yeah. I mean, my trip ups are very not predictable, but they have to do with family dynamic, my family of origin, and they specifically center around my brother. And I can't avoid him. And now that my mom has passed and we are taking turns helping out with my dad, we cross paths a lot. And we cross paths in ways that, and he brings junk food to my dad's house constantly. And so there I am cleaning up after his mess and helping my dad out after a long work day. And there's all this food in my face that I don't even want to be looking at. So I know that's there. That's a known obstacle. That is a weekly thing. Thursday night, that is a big problem for me. And I have not devised. I have weeks that I just sail past it, not my food, don't need to look there. And then I have weeks where I can't seem to. Anyway, the class is about over. But yes, I'm going to take these classes. I really need this perspective. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Forward to spending some more time with you, Cecily. Daryl.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Absolutely. Daryl. Hi, honey.
Hello, hello, hello. It's great to be here. I just completed my first run through the course, and I think very early on, I decided that the theme for me for this course would be noticing, and that's what I focused my attention on understanding more. And having sat through this middle session of between courses, I'm pretty convinced that for this upcoming course, my focus will be on practice.
That's great.
I guess I had always recognized that practice was important, but for some reason, as it was presented here, it's just filling me with interest and a little bit of anxiety and I don't know, an attitude of willingness to learn how to practice and what to practice,
Right.
what to do with the outcome from practicing. So that's a huge bit for me. And so I can easily see how one could take this course many times and just simply grow, not just in expanse, but in depth, and the whole time never losing anything, just constantly gaining or acquiring. It disturbs me, frankly, that I can't afford to think about an end. That just
There would be a
feeds my
reframe.
analytical mind. I'm sorry. I mean, and maybe that'll get corrected over time.
Yes.
I don't know.
There could be another way to look at that.
Oh, sure. Please.
That would encompass everything you want.
If you were to release that particular thing, I just want this to be over. I'm going to be done at some point. I just know it. I'm going to land the plane and I'll be done with it. Maintenance and it'll be a breeze. If you just release that, it starts to not matter that it's never over. Because there are things, Cecily was just talking about having lost her mom and now she's taking care of her dad. There are always going to be life events that hit us between the eyes, that knock us in our gut, that kick us over. And there are going to be ways that we're just not going to be prepared for. And that's what life is about. It's going to connect to something else. And then all of a sudden it's, oh, there we go again. All right, I get to get curious again. I totally understand that, Daryl. I would love for us to say, this is going to be over. That would be a great selling tool. Haven't you ever heard this? How many times have you heard, oh, in 30 days, you're going to release all your worries about sugar. Oh my God, I get so sick of hearing it. Because it's just not true. But what is true is changing your perspective on that substance, which I call not food. It's not food. It's not my food. It's nobody's food. It's not food. We might use it. We might put it in this hole here, but we're not nurturing our bodies with it. We're nurturing our souls. Yeah. And now we get to figure out new ways
New ways to look at it. It's all in how we're looking at it.
Sure.
It's how we're forming it and framing it as something that's missing for us or a new way of looking at it. Gabor Mate talks a lot about trauma is not what's bothering you. It's how you look at the trauma that happened to you.
Just
As accompaniment is required, or we develop PTSD. So when you're not accompanied, when you feel alarmed aloneness, it makes it tremendously harder to overcome something that's happened to you. That's what this is all about, is erasing that. So that all of your decisions, it's no big deal. I can handle this. All right, I got this. The process, you've practiced. You know the process. It's not going to ever be over, guys. You're never going to ever stop having issues with food, but you will turn the noise down tremendously. And I can tell you that I don't eat things anymore that I used to eat all the time.
Mhm.
I don't. What is it? I think it's November of 2018. That's when I landed the plane. I started the process in November of 2016. There is, and actually I started earlier, but it could take forever to tell that. This is important. And thank you, Daryl. I'm looking so forward to spending more time with you. I'm so excited.
So glad. I was wondering, is Gerald going to take the class?
I will be there.
So
Thank you. Yes.
yeah, I wanted to say too, Cheryl says this class is showing even newer ways of practicing. Very excited to have new ways to practice. Absolutely. This is an opportunity, guys, and we are so excited. There are 2 more. Please invite all your friends. Please share this video, that you'll be getting in your email. Please share this video. If you don't get it, let me know. We would love for other people to experience this. I think it is revolutionary, and I think it is so important. We look at things with new lenses. Patricia and I both have different perspectives on things, and between the 2 of us, we create, in my opinion, the perfect picture.
We put accents on different syllables.
We do. So great to see you all. Thank you so much for being here today. And we went only 4 minutes over, so thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye. Have a great day.
Thank you, Cecily. Looking forward to seeing you.
Yeah. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Good to see you, Nancy.